In studio right now is Stephen Wells, running for Congress. I'd ask you about polling, and there have been some polls done, but it's a big district, and you say it's extremely expensive to do the polling. But you've not done any recent polling.
Not recent, but we will.
And I've talked to you about the poll that Assemblywoman Tenney put out and showed her way in the lead, and you discount that, A, because it's something that she had paid for, but B, you say it was done before the campaign even was started. When was that poll conducted? Do you know exactly?
I don't know off the top of my head, Bill. I only discount it because of the sense of it was done before we started campaigning. So, it was irrelevant in that sense. Okay. I don't know if I'm not going to speak to the accuracy. I'm not a pollster.
And you talked about policy, and you're hoping to be able to talk about policy when the debate happens, which, by the way, will be here on June 13th, Monday, June 13th at 8 a.m. here in studio. And it'll be simulcast on WFXV Fox 33. Talk about the policy. Which policy issues are key right now, do you feel, in this race?
Well, I think the issues of the day are our economic security and our national security. Those are the two big issues facing both the country and definitely upstate New York.
How about the issue, which seems to be big, especially in the southern states, the abortion issue? I think there was was it South Carolina that just passed a bill that would limit any abortions after 19 weeks. Where do you stand on abortion? I think we've asked some of these questions, but for people, it is an issue. For some people, this is a key issue.
Well, I understand, I support the current federal law which prohibits federal funding for abortion. But I think the issues of the day, again, are our economic security. Look, we've had 30 years of job erosion here in upstate New York, and the reason why is because we've had bad leadership in Albany and bad leadership in Washington. And the question is we're at a crossroads here. The country's got $19 trillion in debt, and how much longer are we going to continue to go down the wrong road? And so our economic security has got to be foremost. And our national security, look, the president's made a muck of it over the last 8 years. We're weak, perceived as being weak all over the world, and we can talk about that all day long. And so, look, we're going down the wrong road. We got to make a shift.
We have, of course, Remington Arms right here, and it's been a big part of Remington is getting those government contracts. I'm assuming that's something that would be very important to you. You've done business upstate. You're talking about it now. Without some of these government contracts being divvied around upstate, we continue to struggle.
Yeah, well, look, Remington, first of all, I was a professional shooter when I was a kid. So I got my first Remington shotgun at 11 years old.
Wow.
And it's funny, I took them out this weekend, dusted them off, and we had a shoot over in Vernon. But look, so I've been a shooter my whole life, and Remington makes phenomenal products. They've been making them, as you know, the oldest company making the same product for over 200 years. Yeah. It's a tragedy that we're trying to run this company out of town. It cannot happen. We have got to stand up and help protect the economy of Herkimer County. It'd be a disaster without Remington. And frankly, there's no reason for it.
Right.
The jobs that left to Alabama when they moved some of their lines down to Alabama, it didn't have to happen.
Yeah.
And we've got to stop it.
It is, and then of course we have the base, and one of the biggest disasters for this region happened when Griffiths closed. But have you been out there to see what's going on, and how important is that to you in bringing these new technologies to this area and jobs ultimately? I
have been out there. I've been out there many times. And in fact, I'm holding a news conference out here at 10 this morning over at the base. And those jobs are critical. And look, they're not only critical in the hypothetical sense, they're critical to our national defense. They're critical to our national defense, and they're critical to Oneida County in this region. And when you say how important are they, the reality is, as I've traveled around this 8-county district, Bill, this is the brightest spot, what's happening here in Oneida County. The brightest spot, the brightest potential for continued economic growth. We're in great position now, and we've got to take advantage of it. We can't let government slow us down and get in the way. You've got tremendous opportunity for additional business, both on the civilian and military side.
You would say that with the current climate, with Trump and what's going on, clearly there's a national trend of a candidate that's from outside politics, and you're saying you're that candidate that's outside politics, but it does seem they're looking for somebody to just tip the table over and start all over. But you do not seem to be that candidate. You seem to want to work on both sides. Somebody who wants to tip the table over is going to say, we don't want you to work with the other side. I think the question I'd asked you before, about the government shutdown, and you did not believe it was, as Richard Hannett did not believe that shutting the government down would be the right way to go. So how do you tell those people who are looking to take that table and tip it over, how do you tell those people you are their guy?
Well, look, the government is, I think it's pretty clear that the country, frankly, is more divided at any time since the Civil War. We're more polarized than we've ever been.
Yeah.
But we are not going to solve our problems by becoming even more polarized and further apart. We've got to find a way to come together to get stuff done. That's our reality in a democratic system. We've got to find a way to do that. And so as a business person, I can tell you, I don't get my way 100% of the time. That's just not how it works in business. And so you've got to be able to work together to get things done. But I do think, clearly, and I would stand up for the fact that we're going down the wrong road with relation to our economy and our national defense. We've made some bad policy choices and we've had bad leadership. So in that regard, we've got to stand up strong to put us back on the right road. But you got to work together in order to accomplish things. Is
Assemblywoman Tenney the candidate that would tip the table over?
Well, look, I mean, you know her better here than I do, quite frankly, and I'll let other people be that judge. I just think that, I didn't even know who she was when I started running, to be quite candid. But I just go by the facts.
Right.
As a prosecutor, you go into court, you got to go by the facts. And the fact is, she didn't show up for work. She missed 480 votes, 55 votes this year. Those are the facts. These aren't debates. These aren't opinions. And so you don't show up for work, and you don't sponsor any legislation to get something done. You tell me.
June 13th is the date right here in the studio. I don't know how we're going to cram everybody in, but we're going to. And all three candidates, George Phillips, Stephen Wells, and Claudia Tenney, here for a debate. And Stephen Wells, thanks so much for coming in. It's great to meet you.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Quick break. We'll come back. Christine has news coming up 8:32 at WIBX.